Alright, well, I wanted to get a video of this Oceanus T2600 because there's some videos available on it, but they don't really go over some of the unique things about this 5347 movement. So, the differences are compared to other Oceanus watches. This watch gives you two-hand clock dials and no 24-hour dials. It manages the stopwatch function a little differently, and it also shows you the mode display a little bit differently. So on a watch like this S7000, you get one two-hand clock subdial, and you get a 24-hour dial, and you get the mode and day of the week hand. And in fact, even the two-hand clock subdial has a 24-hour subdial. And the necessity of a 24-hour subdial is, it's always a topic of interest. I personally don't feel that I need one for the main hand time display, and I honestly don't really even, I can see the argument for having it for a world time, but it's, to me, it's certainly not too useful for the main dial hand. What the T2600 does is it gives you two two-hand clock subdials at 12 and 6, and so this watch has a world time and stopwatch mode, but it's displaying them all at the same time. For example, so with this S7000 here, this one is in stopwatch mode. We know it because both the hands are pointing up and down, and so if I wanted to display world time, I'd have to pull out the crown, press the A pusher here, and switch between them, and then it would display world time until I wanted to start an elapsed time measurement. Then I would have to pull the crown out, switch it back again to get it into stopwatch mode to start an elapsed time measurement. So right now, I can start an elapsed time measurement instantly on this watch, but only because it's already in stopwatch mode, right? And this one shows has a 24-hour capacity with a 1-second resolution. So this uses the main dial second hand for seconds, and then it uses the subdial minutes hand for minutes, and the subdial hours hand for hours, which is a pretty standard thing. And it gives it a 24-hour capacity by 1-second resolution. And again, this is sort of something that, you can say, how, often do you really need a 24-hour capacity for a stopwatch? And how often do you want something more than 1 second for the resolution? Sort of a matter of personal preference. Basically, how often are you as a user, measuring times of, that capacity? But the T2600 manages this a little bit differently in that it has no 24-hour subdial. So, if you don't find it useful, there isn't one. Although if you did like having a subdial, 24-hour subdial, this movement doesn't have one, but it does instead always display the world time and the local time on the main dial, and it always has one of the subdials ready to start an elapsed time measurement. So this is displaying the world time that I've got selected, and it's ready to start an elapsed time measurement. Now you notice this is also spinning this seconds hand around once per second, and it's because this has, well, I happen to stop it right at, okay, yeah. So this is the next fraction of a second. So this is a 20th of a second resolution, and this has stopped it at 16.05 seconds. Okay, and if you stop the stopwatch for a amount of time, it goes back to displaying your local time keeping seconds. But if we want to start it again, we can start it and it's back to tracking the 20th of a second. And also, interestingly, this subdial displays seconds on the minute hand here of the subdial, and it displays minutes on the hour hand, but in a very unique way. So it tracks minutes not by a single second indice. So it doesn't track 60 minutes all the way around. It tracks them, and you can see it's coming up on 1 minute here, and it's getting ready to point at the 1 o'clock indice here. So it tracks minutes 12 at a time on a rotation. And what that does is it makes it very easy to tell at a glance, even though this is on a very small subdial, you can still tell that it's at a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, because if it's pointing at 3 o'clock, that's very apparent. So, but what that means is that right now the stopwatch still has a 1 hour capacity. So when it gets up to 10 minutes, 11 minutes, 12 minutes, it just keeps going. And so to display 14 minutes, it would be pointing at the 2 o'clock again. And up to 24 minutes, that's pretty, apparent. If the watch has been, if the stopwatch has been running for, 20 minutes, that it'll be pointing at the 8 o'clock here. And you can be pretty sure that that's 24 minutes. But if it's been running for 36 minutes or more, it's a little hard to know for sure how many times it's actually elapsed, how many times the hour hand has gone around here, and how many minutes it's displaying. But this movement has a unique way of being able to show you for sure the elapsed time in any case, because you can switch between modes while an elapsed time movement is running, and it's one of the craziest things. You'll see, I really love switching this. So, and also, so you can see, so I pulled out the crown to switch modes, and it's turned to point to TM, right, for time. And it's also indicating these two above and below are not just for switching between modes, but right now it's showing that the upper subdial is displaying the stopwatch, that the middle subdial is displaying the time, as we expect, and the lower subdial is displaying the world time. And this little range of mode markings here, it's a unique way this movement has of displaying, of showing you, the user, what all of these dials and subdials are doing in any mode. So I'll switch it to stopwatch. And what it's going to do is it switches to using the main subdial as the stopwatch. So you can see that the hand is pointing at ST now for stopwatch, indicating that the main subdial is using the stopwatch. But it's also showing you that the upper subdial is displaying world time, and the lower subdial is displaying your local time now. And this is a very interesting feature. Just using the main dial to display the stopwatch is very interesting. but also indicating what all of the main dial and subdials are doing simultaneously is very neat. I really like that. It's very cool. And also, so we can see that now the stopwatch is displaying minutes up to 60 minutes on the hour hand. It's displaying seconds on the minute hand here. And if we stop it, it will use the seconds hand to, oh, we have to push the dial in before we can start and stop an elapsed time measurement. And actually now that started the second hand on its 20th of a second rotation. So, but after 20 seconds, it'll stop. It'll pause at 12 o'clock there. And then we can, I'll show you the behavior there. But right now, yeah, we're showing it's 5 minutes, 50 seconds, 51 seconds, right? And now this is paused, but we're still tracking. We still have the 20th of a second capacity or resolution on the elapsed time here. So if I hit pause, there we can see it's actually right at 5 minutes, 5 seconds, 5 point, you can see this is 0.1 seconds, so we know this is 0.05 seconds, actually. So that's exactly what that's displaying. And just as clear as you'd like. And, you know, if you have issues reading these subdials, man, like how much more clear could it get having your chronograph running on the main dial is really something. But you can and you can also switch between nodes while it's doing an elapsed time measurement. I pulled out the crown, so it's paused the seconds hand here, and we can switch back to timekeeping or back to world time now. And I always get a kick out of watching that. That's really crazy, watching this thing adjust the hands for all of the dial and the subdials for each mode. So now we can see that it's on world time, and we can see that the upper dial is showing the local time, the main dial is showing the world time, and the lower dial is showing the stopwatch. So we still have our elapsed time measurement running, and now it is still showing that we're at 6 minutes. This is B7, so it's 7 minutes, like 25 seconds now. And then if we pause it, oh, we need to push in the crown to set it directly at that time. But now if we pause it, it'll show it's at 7 minutes, 33 seconds, 33.8 seconds. So there you go. And then if we switch back to world time, regular timekeeping mode, we can see that it readjusts all the hands again. That's wild. And now we're back to using the main hand to show the time, the upper hands to show the stopwatch, and the lower hands to show the world time. And if you look closely, you can see that these are slightly different shades here. These are like a light gray, and these are white. So while the watch is in regular timekeeping mode, it'll be pointing the day of the week mode hand at the day of the week, but you can always see that these being the different shade indicate what these dials are doing all of the rest of the time. And so while it does have the 1 hour capacity, it does give you a 20th of a second resolution. It does show you really well, really clearly. This is right coming up to 9 minutes. It's 9 minutes, 3 seconds. And on the camera, it's actually harder to read for me while I'm filming this, but that's 0.04, so it's 0.045 seconds. And so it has a very unique way of clearly displaying the elapsed time on a subdial when the watch is in timekeeping or world time mode. But if you have any issue with that, you can always set it to stopwatch mode, and then you have maybe the clearest display of a chronograph function that you can have on an analog watch using the main subdial, which is very, very cool, very interesting. And apart from that, the watch has all of the typical Oceanus specs: sapphire glass, great polishing, great finishing, and I like the look of this case a little bit better than like the T4000 or what. I like the polished bezel here. It makes it feel, even though it's a T2600, feels to me a little bit more like a styled like the S100. And then if we stop the elapsed time measurement, we can always zero it, and there you go. It's a very unique set of features on a watch that I feel like it's not widely appreciated how unique the movement is. So I hope you appreciated it.